Well, look, there's been plenty of Celtic talk transfer-wise, but some big transfer news at Ibrox, Keith, regarding Djeidi Gassama. Reported on Record Sport Online today that Monaco have reportedly bid £10 million for the Rangers winger. And look, I'll declare myself right away. If they've really bid £10 million for him, they should be carrying him on their backs to the airport. I mean, decent player, but £10 million?
Yeah, I would be inclined to agree. The only thing that you would say about this potential sale at this time of the season, when so much is on the line, see if Rangers were trailing 10, 15 points behind, you just do the deal. You don't think twice about it. But going into this second half of the campaign, with the situation at the top of the league as tight as it is, and he doesn't have a lot of options, and he's been looking to bolster his options down the road in the wider areas, and he's brought in Andrei Skov-Olsen, obviously, to help do that. I think Gassama right now probably isn't a starter, a regular starter, a first pick. I think it's probably Mikey Moore and Skov-Olsen would be the first pick wide men. But he is a guy that can impact stuff from the bench. And I'm not sure how much more there is depth to the Rangers squad right now, whereby if you're missing a Skov-Olsen, if he goes off injured or whatever, you need to make a change. Have you got is there many more potential kind of match changers, match winners to pick from? So for that reason, I could understand why Rangers are saying, well, do you know what? If there's interest now, there'll probably be interest again in the summer. Although this fits right into the if you're trying to do a player trading model, you've picked up a Gassama for whatever it was Rangers paid. What was it? A couple of mil?
2.2
in the summer, and you think you can multiply that by 4 or 5, 6 months down the line. Ordinarily, I think you take the money and you do the deal. But unless Rangers have got one lined up coming in the way, then I could understand why they would want to press pause on it. Interesting, we just said all that. Shin Yamada has obviously left Celtic to go to Germany, I think it was, on loan until the end of the season. That's, I find, interesting because they've been accused of not doing their business properly on more than one occasion, frequently, in fact. Shin Yamada's in there as a backup striker. They've already had a history over recent weeks or years of selling strikers without replacements. Mick, would you not think that in order to let Shin Yamada go, it's an indicator that they've got somebody else just about nailed down? And I think that I'm twisting that and applying that same situation to Rangers with Gassama. I don't think you can let him go unless you've got one that you think can come in and hit the ground running, make a contribution.
I don't think you can mention Gassama and Yamada in the same sentence. To be honest,
granted. Yeah,
I mean, Gassama. I mean, Rangers talking about £10 million. This is a guy who scored 7 goals this season, who's got a goal in him. Rangers don't have that many goals in the front line. No. And he gives them no brainer. No sale. 22 years old. He's got a higher ceiling. Even if he doesn't, even if he's selling for £5 million, even if he's hopeless next year, £5 million. Still, but they'll make a profit no matter what. Rangers need all hands on deck to go for this title, and they need goals. And he's a guy who has got a goal in him. In terms of Yamada, hasn't he got a goal on him? Hasn't scored for Celtic. I mean, listen, I think it's good for the player to get out and go and try and get games in the Bundesliga 2, isn't it? It's been a disastrous move from. I mean, it will be one of those moves in 10 years' time that people will talk about, like a kind of what do you call them, do ways and all that. Yeah, about that level, because it will actually be one of the signings that sum up the entire campaign. I mean,
question.
The Brendan Rodgers in the summer talking about, I'll take him in and have a look at him and all that stuff. The club wanted to have a wee look at him, and that turned into it was a club signing, and that was the fault breaking up between Rodgers and the club. Shin Yamada is the patient zero, the San Andreas fault line that erupted for Celtic in the summer, and it got wider and wider and wider. And it'll be an entire chapter in the whole novel of this season for Celtic.
I get all that, Mick, but can they let him go? And then just it doesn't matter. You don't need another body.
No, I think. I mean, they've got any actual comeback from injury might see out the season. They've got Johnny Kenny, they've got Chanchara, and Djeidi Gassama can play in there. I think they need another one, yes, but I don't think that even came into the thinking with Yamada. I think he's so far out the picture that it didn't even come into the thinking. The fact that you can get him off the books and let him get out and try and play somewhere and try and rebuild his career in Germany, I think there was more chance of honestly one of us getting a game for Celtic up front than Shin Yamada under Martin O'Neill. Not a chance. So I think that's separate. I think that's a guy you've got to, the poor guy is probably training.
Don't conflate the issues.
Yeah, I think that's not part of this January window. That's a guy, just listen, you might as well go and get a game somewhere because you're not getting a game at Celtic. Not good enough.
I mean, time has really got away from us. There's a couple other transfer bits that I want to get your take on. I've been absolutely hounded in the comments for saying that Rangers should take 10 million for Gassama. Mike says I'm talking nonsense, gives us goals and Olsen on the wing. Curry Muncher says this is the reason you're a podcaster, Dan. 10 million could be 20 million in the summer. Sean points out he's featured in every single match for Rangers this season. And Sean actually as well, Keith, says you're giving the Celtic board far too much credit there for thinking logically about if Shin's going, someone else is coming in.
I know, but they can't just continually stay in this self-destruct mode because do you know what I mean? There's got to be at some point, even if it's just through sheer desire for self-preservation, they've got to be seen to be doing something, because this is, as things stand right now, can you imagine there's not at least 2 signings of significance between now and next Monday night? It's going to be an absolute horrible run-in, and there's a few months of this season remaining. So I think they've got to do something. I get it. I think Mick's right. You don't necessarily need to conflate the issues with Shin Yamada, because he probably wasn't going to get a game for and 5-a-sides at training between now and the end of the season. So that's probably explains that one. But I'm mystified as to, as I said, if for no other reason than just to take a bit of heat off themselves and self-preservation reasons, Celtic have to do something. But I do feel as if it's also left. They've left it all so late that they'll be accused of it's panic buys, whatever you do now.
What the one guy that they've been linked with that might not be available pretty soon is Kieran Bowie, because story on Record Sport Online from our colleague Scott Burns says that Hellas Verona in Italy have launched a €5 million bid for the Hibs striker. I mean, Bob in the comments says Bowie isn't worth more than 5 million. Hibs better hope he does. I think he means sign. How do you guys see it?
I don't think that's nowhere near what Hibs will be looking for Kieran Bowie. Again, a bit like what we're saying about Gassama. I think he's shown a lot of promise this season. I don't think he's a finished article, but he's got a lot of development to go, and I think he's got a higher ceiling. We talked about this problem before, that I think there's a meaty sell-on clause as well. It's not in Hibs' interest to cash in now on Bowie. Another couple of seasons, another season or so doing really well, we will go for big money. So £5 and £6 million isn't really going to cut it, because the investment they made in him, they're looking for £10 million. That's the kind of thing that Hibs are thinking. Whether that happens or not, we'll have to wait and see. But if he does another, finishes the season strongly, has a good season next season, is in the Scotland squad regularly, gets a couple of goals in Scotland, and the next kind of wave for Scotland's future, then he will be worth a good few bob. So £5 million? No, laugh it out of town. The same reasons. I mean, Celtic were talking about £6 million for Celtic. They'll need to pay Celtic would need to pay the kind of the Egypt tax in Scotland for being so late in the party. So they're not going to do it. Plus, he's a similar profile to Chanchara. So I don't think that's not going to happen now. I wouldn't imagine. It'd be rather kind of silly at this stage. But Hibs should keep developing him, make him a better player, and flog him for fortunes when the time comes. Not for £5 million.